Welcome, everyone, to the eighth episode of Identity International's second webinar series, Palestinian Beyond Conflicts. This series will be running throughout the month of December on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 5 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, where we will delve into the evolution of Palestinian identity with our esteemed guests. To receive notifications and updates regarding the series, please follow our social media platforms. And if you miss any of our episodes, please check them out on our YouTube channel. Today we'll be in conversation with Yasser Qous. Yasser is the Executive Director of the African Community Society, a grassroots center which serves the needs of the Afro-Palestinian community in Jerusalem. He is also currently a master's student at the Department of History and Civilization at the School of Advanced Studies in Social Sciences in Paris. His research interests revolve around the social history of Palestine, with a focus on the historical development of the Afro-Palestinian community in Jerusalem. As such, he has written and spoken extensively on the topic and has published his work in Cairn International and the Goethe Institute, as well as participated in interviews on behalf of the Afro-Palestinian community with major news outlets such as the Jerusalem Post. Yasser, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure for me to join you.
So my first question, as we say, ask every single guest that has come on to the, has come on to this so far, will be, what does it mean to you personally to be Palestinian?
It's a deep question. It's not. It's a very deep question to be a Palestinian. I think it's a decision to be a Palestinian. It's not just to be born in Palestine or to be located in this area, in this region, or to be an Arab or a Muslim. It's more. It's your choice to be with the rights of the Palestinians, with the rights of the people that they have been tackled from their land, and against the colonization and the imperialism. This is your own choice, because to be a Palestinian, it's a choice. It's not something that it's have been given to you. It's your own choice to be engaged with the Palestinian case, as if other cases are other what we can consider them human cases, or what we consider justice cases in this land, in this world.
Now, you've written extensively, and your research is based on this as well. But one article that I've come across is the alienation as well as the counter-alienation of African Palestinians within Palestine and in the wider context as well. Please tell me more about that.
The idea comes from me because on the nomination of the people, because most of the time when we look back in the history and we try to figure what are the nomination of the Palestinian, of the Africans that they came in Palestine, they give them I can say that the authorities, they give them different names that doesn't correspond to their real names, really. So during the history, most of the Africans that they came in Palestine, they used to call them takruris, which means that they came from a region what was considered a Muslim region in West Africa. So most of the people, they have been called or named under the name of the Takruris. Though the Africans that they came in Palestine, they came from tribes. They came from different tribes such as Folata, Hausa, and which is languages, which is not really a tribes in the sense of an ethnic tribe. It's much more a linguistic tribe. So most of them, they came as from these tribes, which is much more linguistic tribes, and they settled down in Palestine. So for the African themselves, they used to name themselves that they are coming from these tribes, not Takruris. Because of that, I'm saying that the Takruris, it had been a nomination given to them by Ibn Battuta, one of the Arab geographic, and Ibn Khaldun. But it doesn't mean that they name themselves in that way. And also, it had been continued by calling them the Sudanese. That means, in the sense of Arabs, that they came from the land of the black, or something like this, because Sudan in Arabic, it means the land of the black. So I write my article in order to say or to concentrate about the nomination of the people themselves, because they use different names for themselves, and they use to identify themselves in different by different names, different nomination, different things like this. So because of that, I try to to uh, to go through the nomination, the internal nomination against the external nomination.
Right. Okay. And how is that sort of translated into Afro-Palestinian society today?
It's a long.
And
I
the way
think
that
it
their
was a long way.
placement within the wider Palestinian context.
I think it was a long way. I think it was a long way, and I think after the first Intifada, I will be true and I will be honest with you. There were a big discussion about whom are the Jerusalemites. So, in the sense, Jerusalemite before the first Intifada, it was just consecrated for the people that they have been considered as the elites of Jerusalem. So, after the first Intifada, we have going through the deeper discussion about the meaning or the identification of a Jerusalemite. So after that, we figured that we have been internally a discussion between inside our society, if we are only Africans, we are Palestinians, or we are Afro-Palestinian, we are the two. So at the end of this discussion, it takes us more than 6 months in this discussion in order to figure that we are Palestinians with African roots, so, which means that we belong to which is when I say that it's our decision or it's our path to be Palestinian, but with our African roots, because we have been living in the old city, which is a multicultural society. There are people that they are coming from all over the world. There were Pakistanis, Yemeni, Moroccan, Maghreban, African, that they have been coming through all over the history and settling down inside the city. So, as the small community, which is considered to be counted to be 350 persons, we decided in order to be Afro-Palestinians, which in the mean we are not separated from the Palestinian. We are part of the Palestinian society, but we have a plus identity, cultural identity, which is the African. We are much more related to the African culture and society.
Okay. But okay, so there's an interesting quote that I would like to pull from one of your articles.
Yes.
Now, you've stated that some Jerusalemites try to soften the racist overtones of this labeling with an over-idealistic view of Palestinian society. We're all one, we're all brothers, and we're all equals. Their use of this designation merely reflects their ignorance, and it doesn't imply any cultural or social racism towards Black Africans. Indeed, in their scenario, racism does not exist in Palestinian society, as we are all God's slaves in a religious sense. Could you expand on this and the labeling that you've mentioned? What labeling in specific, and how has this translated into Palestinian society?
Listen, I will give you an example. Let us start it with an example. You are equal till you reach in the case of marriage, because there is the customs. Here it's the division between the people. So it's not just only against the African because of their color. It's also because of their class, because they are poor, and also because they are refugees, and because they are coming from the north, and there are many elements that it can be to be considered in this discrimination. Because of that, I'm talking about social discrimination. So it's much more about when it reaches to the case of marriage, there is a blockage all the time. There is a block when you get married with a black girl, with a white girl, or if a black girl married with a white people. So it's much more hidden. All the time they are claiming in the society that we don't have any kind of discrimination, but when it reached to marriage, oh, okay, everything is turned on. Because here we put all the common issues, religion, language, everything, and here interfere the culture, the customs, here interfere the traditions, here interfere the things. So most of the time, people, they take it as an excuse to make this kind of discrimination because of the customs, of the traditions, that we are not familiar to have a mixed marriage between black and white. This is what in the case of the Palestinian society. Because of that, I'm saying that on the base of religion, culture, we are equal in this sense. But all the time,
yes,
there is traditions. There is the customs and the traditions also, which is another element that influence our decisions if we continue on this type of equality or not.
And you were mentioning that this is historically part of Arab society. Yes, earlier before we started this program, we were discussing about how it's because of the Arab. It's historically rooted, and because of what's going on in the West, it's overlooked, or it's sometimes, I would say, whitewashed in a way, with and just it's overlooked with a lot of the movements, especially with the Palestinian movement being associated with other justice rights movements, including the Black civil rights movements and across history. How does this make the yourself, and then obviously the wider opinions within the Afro-Palestinian society as well?
Listen, I will give you another example, which is much more deeply with your question, because most of historically we have to look back to the image of the Africans, to the image of the Black people in the history.
Yeah.
Most of the time, in the majority of, it's not in the majority, all of the time, the image of the Black is the slave. Simply because of that, there are some of the people that they name the place where the Africans are related, they call them slaves' quarters. It's the same as inside the old city of Jerusalem. Where are the community, the African community are located? They call it the prison, the slaves, the prison of the slaves, which means because historically it was used as a prison in the last period of the Ottomans. So these two rebats, they used to be prisons. And the Arabs, the Palestinians, they bring back their images towards the Black people, so they name them slaves. So we call it in Arabic Habs al-Abid, which means the prison of the slaves. Inside the society, we can't ignore that there is a discrimination against the Africans. If we ignore this fact, why we are naming a region in Ariha, in Jericho, as the place of the Abid, which means slaves? Why we are nominating the quarters in Gaza the slave quarters, or in Negev slave quarters, or monuments? So there is this all the time. We have what we can consider it invisible discrimination against the Black people, but it's not only against the Black, it's against all the, what we call it, we can consider it the fragile social layers, which are people that they don't have, influence inside the society. They are poor, they are from the lower, class of the society. So all the time we have this kind of discrimination between the center and the march, and all the time these are the relation. All the time it's like a ping pong play between the march and the center. People that they are much more centered in the city, they have much more opportunity to be much more recognized. But other people that they are in the suburbs or in the other areas, regions, they don't have the same opportunity to be identified or to be nominated or to be recognized as equal as the other people. It depends on your location. Because of that, we were talking about the different history of the Africans and the different locations of the Africans. People of Jerusalem, they came as Muslims, they have been recognized as part of the society of Jerusalem, but it doesn't mean that the case of the Africans are the same. People that they are living in Sakhnin or in Nablus, they don't have the same opportunity to be recognized similar to the Palestinians that they are located in Jerusalem. So we have this kind of status, different kind of status. It depends on your history, it depends of your identification. It's not of your identification, of the identification that they give it for you, of the status they give it for you before when you arrive to Palestine.
And how has this, is there a difference between the way that Afro-Palestinian identity has evolved in terms of the conflict and the wide, in comparison to maybe the Arab Palestinians or, other ethnic groups in Palestine?
Listen, yani, when we have a revolution and when we have a national movement, we don't ask ourselves from which ethnic, from which religion, from which, because there is a common identity, which is the national identity. I think within the period of the national identity, of the national struggle, we didn't have this kind. We haven't been questioned about our religion, about roots, ethnics, through a culture or something like this, because there is a whole identity, which is the national identity. I think the crisis it had become after Oslo Agreement, when I think there were a withdrawal of there were a collapse of the national identity, and we had been forced to go back to create new identities, which is much more. And I thought we were talking about that before. After the first Intifada, we have been discussing about whom we are, how we consider ourselves. We consider ourselves Africans, Palestinians, because we lost the umbrella, we lost the huge identity, or the bigger identity that it had been, including all of us, without any kind of discrimination. I think that it had been different. We can read the things differently from period to period, because the development of the identity, it had been going like a zigzag. It haven't been go in a straight way. And I think the participation of the Africans, of the Palestinians from African roots in the Palestinian struggle, I think it had been give us tools in order to consider ourselves that we are much more Palestinians. We have been engaged totally in the depth with the Palestinian struggle. In the second Intifada, it was the first martyr. In the second Intifada, it was from the African community of Jerusalem. So we have been engaged in the depth with the Palestinian national movement. But as I told you, after Oslo, we find ourselves that we are out of cover. We can consider ourselves like this. And there were new identities that had been established during that period, based on families, based
new identity.
Yes,
right.
It was much more local. It's much more, we can consider it as local, depends on the city and the quarter and the family. It was in micro identities, what we consider it like this.
That is very interesting. Based on your experiences of growing up in the, if I'm correct, it's the African Quarter in Jerusalem, yes?
Yes.
Where you've grown up personally.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about, tell us about that, the personal experiences, any sort of memories, and what it's like now, because a lot of us, when we visit Palestine, are unaware that an African quarter even exists. You hear about the 4 major quarters, but nothing beyond that. So please, tell us about the culture, the just the experiences, and what you would personally like to share about it.
First of all, we are located in the Muslim quarter, which is the biggest quarter inside the city, and the African quarter can be found just close to Al Haram al Sharif. We are not far away from Al Haram al Sharif. It's 10 meters, I think, far away from Al Haram al Sharif. We are located in one of the most important doors of Al Haram al Sharif. It's called Bab al Majlis. When you go through this quarter, there is no signification about our quarter as an African quarter, but we are so
Right.
active because
Okay.
of our engagement in the political movement and social movement in the old city. We have a center which is called the African Community Center of Jerusalem, and through this center we organize activities for the children, for women, adults. We are not concentrated just only for the benefits of the African community. We are serving all the people, all the inhabitants of the old city, and also the suburbs. And we are trying to reach out all these people that to be engaged in our national to show our national identity as a Palestinian residing inside the old city of Jerusalem. We are not a big community. We are 350 persons that they are located in that location, and the majority they came from 4 countries. They came from Chad, Sudan, Senegal, and Nigeria. There were waves of migrants. The first wave it came at the end of the 19th century, when the beginning of the colonization, the French colonization in Africa and West Africa. Most of the people that they have been participate, or mujahideen, on the sense they participate with Uthman bin Fodo. They quit their countries and they go to Mecca, and after that they made their way to Jerusalem. There are other waves. They came afterwards. They came in the beginning of the 20th century, and the last wave they came at in 48, before the creation of the state of Israel. And why they came? They participate on the army of salute, which had been organized by the Arab League in order to loot against the British mandate and the Zionist movement in Palestine. Most of them they decided in order to settle down. So my father, I give you an experience. My father, he came to Palestine in 48, and then afterward he decided in order to settle down, and he met with my mother, and we have been born in Palestine. We have now nearly 5 generations that they have been born in Palestine. The big problem of for the African community, that we have been disconnected from Africa, living under the occupation that doesn't give us the opportunity in order to be linked with our roots. For example, my father, when he came to Palestine, he was married, and we know that we have brothers and sisters in Chad, but we had never connected with them, because we don't have the opportunity in order to go to Chad, because we are living in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is an occupied territories, and we don't have neither a Chadian passport, neither the Israeli passport, neither Jordanese passport. We have only a Palestinian Israeli travel document that allows us to go to Europe, but not to the Arab land, not to other places that they don't have any kind of relationship with Israel. So we have been isolated as a community. The majority of the people that they don't have the connection, and one of the paths, and one of the ways of connection it used to be, it was the Hajj. Our father, they used to go to Hajj in order to meet their families, but after they passed away, we also lost our connection with our roots, with our brothers and sisters that they have been left in Africa. For us, as we consider ourselves, we say that we are Palestinians. We are Palestinians, as I say, with our choice to be Palestinians and with our engagement in the Palestinian resistance. So for us, we are proud of our 2 identities. We are proud of to be Palestinians. Also, we are proud to be Africans. And we kept our customs. We use, in the beginning of the creation of the community, our father, they used to meet every Friday after the prayer. They used to eat together, to discuss together, and they call it the Council of Friday. And they used to help each other in order to get married, or to build a house or something like this. And we continue this tradition all over the way. We have our own food, we can consider it as a small food. We consider it as asida. It's a Sudanese plate. And what's different about us, we consider ourselves that we are one family. And this is one of the plus issues in our community. All the people that they have been born inside the community, we consider ourselves that we are families. We are post tribes, which means we don't say that I came from As-Salamat or from Follata or from Hausa or from this or from Nigeria or from Chad or something. No, we are post that. We consider ourselves that we are brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts. So all of us, we consider ourselves as one big family. And if there is a death, we all participate. If there is a wedding, we all participate. And what is amazing about us, I think the spirit that we have it in our wedding. When we have wedding, we bring joy. All of us, we bring joy together to celebrate the wedding of one of our sisters, of our brothers. So we kept this attachment as one unit, one family, considered as one family, not separated on the base of families or countries or ethnic or tribes or something like this. We consider ourselves that we are one big family, which is the African community.
That's very wholesome. It's a very positive note, and it's a very positive perception of the society as well. And it's something that I would definitely like to do is visit next time we do go to Palestine. There's a question that we have from one of our viewers who's asking: is there any literary representation of the Afro-Palestinian experience?
What? I didn't get. Literature?
Sorry, is there any literary representation of the Afro-Palestinian experience?
Where? In the literature, in the Palestinian literature, or where?
I mean, it's a pretty open-ended question. I think make what you will of that question. Maybe wherever there's worth getting any sort of literary source.
No, I will reply no, because we are, as I started my intervention, we are invisible. We are not seen in the Palestinian society, and sometimes I get shocked because above all our participation in the Palestinian revolution, the first Palestinian woman prisoner, was from the African community. Above all this, there are some of the Palestinians that they don't know that there are African Palestinian living in Jerusalem or in other cities. I think this is a problem. This is a serious problem, that you don't know about your different cultural identities that you have it in Palestine. And so our representation in the literature, we don't have any kind of representation because we are not seen. We are invisible. We are not, and the Palestinian case, it's much more had been based on the political point of view, denying the fact that the social history, most of our literature, most of our history, it have been politicized, which means that there is a lot of policy inside it, but ignoring the fact that there are what we can consider the social history of the Palestinians, that they are living inside the city. So it's a little bit complicated in order to compare to understand that there are ordinary people living in Palestine. So most of the time we see Palestine through politics, but not through ordinary people. What we are trying to do now, I hope that we put much more the light on the life of the ordinary people, not on the not on the political side, because on the political side there are different point of view, there are different motivation, there are different bases. We don't want to go through that. We are much more concentrating about the life of the ordinary people, that they create that history also. They participate fortely in that history.
And that is, I mean, one of the aims of the series as well, the fact that we're trying to return the humanness to the actual narrative in the first place, because it's been, I mean, not to overlook, not to, sorry, undermine the political narrative, because it is very important and it has obviously impacted people's lives on a daily basis, but it dehumanizes people to a certain extent that you forget that, oh, there's more than just statistics on the ground, you know,
Yeah.
that these people want to live life. They want to go to school, they have families, they, you know, they want to get married, they, you know, it's they're not victims, like, you know, they're actual humans that are going through something that they shouldn't ever have to go through. You know, so it's like, what is your, like, you know, an ordinary person in Palestine, what would you say that, I mean, obviously this isn't very, it's heterogeneous. It's not a homogeneous one, you know, one-sided thing that you could say that, oh, this is what every ordinary person wants. But you as an ordinary person, you know, in Palestine, trying to live, what do you see the sort of future of Palestine to be, or what would you want the future of Palestine to be?
To be liberated. يعني, listen, sometimes most of the time when I participate in an international, visit or something like this, they ask me what make the Palestinian different. I told them they are not different. The only thing that are different, we are living under colonization. Stop the colonization, and we are living the same life as others. We fall in love, we get married, we celebrate every moment. We try to live, we create life for ourselves in order to continue on struggling. What make us really continue on struggling, that we keep on dreaming, we keep on dreaming for our better future, for Palestine liberation, for the liberation of Palestine. So I think this is what miss us, that we don't live liberty in actuality, we live it only on dreams. And it's time to live it really, to touch it, to catch it as liberty, to live it daily in our life. And this is what is different from us. Most of the people think, or the people think, that we are living in under occupation. That means that you are fighting every day. No, we are not fighting every day. We have our own personal life, we have our own personal, we do the same things, same mistakes as other humans. But the only thing which is different, that we have only this colonization that is continuing in our land. This is the only thing that we have it in our life.
And hopefully in the future it is something that we can all overcome. And that is one can hope, and one can obviously work towards it in the way that whatever is within their capabilities. So it is something.
Listen, everything is have a start, it will reach an end. Certainly, we are sure about that. And we have the power in order to continue till that moment.
And I would say, inshallah, to that. And
yes.
I do hope so. Yes, I would definitely hope so. Now, I mean, this is the point where we get to, and we allow the speaker to say whatever they want to, sort of concluding remarks, what they would like to know, to, what basically an open mic, where you get to say whatever you'd like to say in terms of identity and the themes of what we're talking today. And it is where we get our most interesting aspects as well. So please, the floor is yours.
No, for me, I was pleased to be part of this discussion, because I really, it's important in order to focus a little bit about the people that they are in marge, that they people that they don't have any kind of relation with their roots, the people that they are fighting in order to be connected with other people suffering from the same situation. Now, within the last, I think, 10 years, there are a lot of connection between the African movement, African, what we consider movement in America, with the African community. There are a lot of delegations that they have been presented in Palestine. They have been connected with our brothers and sisters, and they collect a lot of stories about, and they see that there is a lot of things in common in our struggle. So it's an open microphone, it's an open call for all the people that they are interested in order to know much more about the African community. Go and visit Palestine, go there, go to Jerusalem, go to Palestine in order to figure what means to live under occupation, what means to live under colonization. So this is an open call to go there to figure, because I can't, and we can't describe for you what means a humiliation to be stand half a day in a checkpoint. You have to go through that in order to understand what is the meaning of a checkpoint. Go there, spend your time, contact with the people, and the most important thing, we as humans, we strengthen our personalities by collecting new stories from all over the world. It's not just only from Palestine. Go there, contact with the people. Don't go with a tour guide. Go by your own, have your own experience, contact with the people, collect your own stories, and after that, you will know much more what you can do for this case, what you can do for the Palestinians.
That is a very empowering note to end on. Thank you for that. And I do hope we all do get that opportunity in the near future. Yasser, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your incredible insight.
Thank you so
really
much.
Been, it's really, I really need it. And I would like to thank our audience for watching. Please do keep an eye out for more of our Beyond Conflict series, which we will be doing in the upcoming year. We do aim to host this series every alternate month on different regions that are undergoing conflict. So do keep an eye out for our next one in February. And I would like to thank everyone again from Identity International.
Thank you so much.
على عهدي على ديني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني